refused database access and told to submit tickets, so I submit tickets. Okay, I have been meaning to type this up for a while. This happened at my last job back in 2018. To give some background, I was working as a data analyst at a company in the edtech sector. For one of my projects, I created a report that we could give to the sales team, that they could then use when asking clients to renew their contract. Clients were typically school systems or individual schools. The report was all graphs, even adults like pretty pictures, and it showed the client's data on how teachers/students were using the product. Then our sales guys could show, hey, X% of your students and teacher are using this X times a week, so you should sign a new contract with us. I developed this report for our biggest client, and had the top people in sales all put in input when developing it. The big client renewed, which was great. They loved the report and wanted to use it for all renewals, and we had 5,000 plus clients. I had to automated the process and everything seemed peachy until I hit a problem. The data for the report was pulled from our database, MS SQL if you are curious. Now I was in the research department and I did not have access to the database. Instead, our IT team had access to the database. If I wanted data, I had to put in a ticket, name all the data points I wanted, and I could only name one client per ticket. Also, IT did their work in sprints, which are basically 2-week periods of work. The tickets were always added to the next sprint, so I ended up having to wait 2 to 4 weeks for data. This was fine for the big client report, but now that I was running this report for all renewals, the ticket system was not going to work. Now if you have worked with sales, you know they don't typically plan out 2 to 4 weeks ahead. At least they didn't at this company. I reached out to IT and requested direct access to the database, so I could stop putting in tickets and just query, the data myself. Well, that was immediately denied. All data requests will be filled by only IT, and as a research person I needed to stay in my lane. You might see where this is going. I wasn't happy and sales wasn't happy with the delay, but there was nothing anyone could do. So I reached out to one of the sales managers to discuss a solution. Since data was going to take 2 to 4 weeks to arrive, could he please send me everyone that has a renewal coming up in the next 2 to 4 weeks? With 5,000 plus customers, that averages about 100 renewals a week. He smiled and understood what was going on, and happily sent me a list of 400-ish clients. Quick note: the IT team spends the day before a sprint planning the next sprint, and all tickets submitted before the sprint had to be completed during the next sprint. The sprint planning time was always Friday afternoon because the least number of tickets rolled in. During the planning session they would plan all the work for the next 2 weeks. For the next sprint, any tickets that came in before 5 p.m. Friday had to be finished over the next 2 weeks. Time for the MC. Armed with my list of 400 plus clients, I figured out when the next sprint started and cleared my schedule for the day before the new IT sprint started, aka their sprint planning Friday. At about 1 ticket a minute, it was going to take about 6 hours and 40 minutes to submit all the tickets, so that's what I spent my whole Friday doing. Let's not forget, they had to get the data for all the tickets during the next sprint as long as I submitted them before 5 p.m. on Friday. That meant they had to take care of all 400 tickets in the next 2 weeks, plus I submitted tickets throughout their spring planning meetings, so they couldn't even plan for it all. If you are not tech savvy, this might not make sense, but if you let me add an extra twist to this. They used Jira at the time. And the entire IT team had the Jira app on their laptops. Most of them had push notifications set up so they got pinged every time a ticket was submitted. I would have paid good money to be a fly on the wall during that meeting, watching a new ticket pop up about every minute. Okay, tech aside and done, I didn't hear a peep from them at all that Friday. To their credit, Monday I started getting data from my tickets. Now I had automated the reporting process on my end, so each report only took me a few minutes to run. I was churning out reports as quickly as I received the data without an issue, and sales was loving it. I saw tickets coming in from every member of the IT team, and during the second week many tickets came in after working hours, so obviously they were struggling to keep up. Again, I will give them full credit, they fulfilled every single ticket, but there was a lot of long days for them. Everyone was salary, so no overtime pay either. This is of course on top of all the other tickets they needed to complete, so it was quite a stressful sprint. Undeterred, I met with the sales manager again right before the next sprint and asked for the next set of clients with renewals. Then the day before the next sprint I began submitting tickets again. My workday started at 9 AM and by 10 AM the head of IT runs over to me. He is bug-eyed and asked me how many tickets I was planning on submitting. I told him the same amount as last time. I only had 200 this time, but he didn't know that. And I am pretty sure I saw him break on the inside. I did feel bad at this point, so I said, alternatively you could just give me access to the database and I could query the data myself. I had the access before noon. TLDR. IT says I need to submit tickets for data instead of giving me direct access. I submit hundreds of tickets until they relent and give me access. Now to the comments. On a just slightly related note, I used to work for the largest hospital system in the US. I needed access to a small part of a database for a small project. They gave me access to everything. I had full control to do anything. I should probably mention that I had only recently started. Yeah, I needed to be able to view some planning data in a big military database and they gave me full right access to the whole system. I touched a couple of minor things that I knew didn't really matter just to verify that they had screwed up, showed them they screwed up, and they just told me to be careful. Looking back on it now, I'm not even sure they understood they could offer limited access. As a person who does such things for a living, the people that should know better, don't care. The people that don't know better, don't know that they should care. This was beautiful. OP replied, thank you. Definitely cross-post to r/tales from tech support. Well done. The only way to make it better would be to have a script running that could submit the tickets for you. OP replied, haha, you are totally right. I wasn't a good enough coder at the time to do it, but if it happened today, I would totally do that. You could have asked IT to write you a script for it. What team has the mandate that every ticket has to be solved in next sprint? Do they have no concept of what a spillover or a backlog is? And why would they do this manually if the data is the same and only the clients vary? Even with all the inefficiencies, this can be solved easily by having a script that just loops through the clients for each ticket. If that's the rule, what are they even doing in the sprint planning meetings? Alright, we estimated the current sprint requires 90 hours a week per developer, let's get to it. Any tickets that came in before Friday 5 PM had to be completed in the next 2 weeks. I'm so jealous right now. I have tickets that I submitted in October 2020 that still haven't been answered by IT. Any plans for the birthday celebration of your tickets? The first birthday is a big milestone, you know. Show up to the IT office with a cake frosted with the ticket number on it. Okay, even with InfoSec considerations, why would research be hamstrung by not having database access? Like, usually when you need information from a database, you need it ASAP so you can use that information to plan what you're doing next. That policy might have made sense when computers were room-sized, but it just seems strange to me for the modern era. If someone outside IT gives a legitimate reason to use the data, just give them access and set up logging to make sure there's nothing nefarious happening. And get all the relevant NDAs and privacy paperwork signed if necessary. Check every now and then for suspicious activity, and let them get on with it. They brought this on themselves. OP replied, You totally nailed it. I even asked for read-only access, so I couldn't muck up anything. It was all cloud-based as well, so they could just dynamically get more compute if I pushed the limit. I did make a mistake once and forget a where clause. I checked our Google Analytics after and there was no change to the availability. Well, you would be surprised what crazy stuff someone can pull. We had a manufacturing planning system, and someone set up an overnight planning job, but fat-fingered the required safety stock. It should have been 60,000, but somehow, they set the safety stock to 60 billion. Yes. 60 billion. The standard lot size was 15,000, and so the system attempted to create a report showing the production orders required to hit the safety stock. The report totally crashed the whole system as it tried to plan out 4 million production orders, each taking approximately a week, factoring in holidays and other scheduled production.